Hello and welcome back. So we are on the learning target. I can represent ratios as fractions, colons, and words. So if you don't know what a colon is, we'll go over that. But if you want to do a quick Google for it, you're welcome to. And fractions, I'm sure you've seen before, and words, you know what words are. So before we get started, I want to go over the expectations. So remember to use twice this video's length to take notes and to wonder, ask questions. If you want to, a good strategy would be taking sticky notes and putting your questions on top of your notes, or you can email them to me or your teacher, or make sure you have a separate notes journal or question journal just to make sure that when you come back to class and we go over this, you have a place that you remember what you wanted to ask, and so we can learn from it and discuss together, which is awesome. So my goal is that this video is 10 to 15 minutes, so it should take you 20 to 30 minutes on finishing it, because you are pausing, rewatching, and changing the playback speed as desired. If this is something that you're like, I got this, change it to 1.5 speed. Hear me talk even faster. If you want to hear me go slow, make sure you slow down the speed and go maybe 0.5 speed. It's going to change the sound of my voice, but I will also be talking slower. You have control. And these are notes to your future self. So remember that yes, this is great that you understand it when you first listen to this video, but make sure that in the future you also can read your handwriting and read what you wrote and why it was important. And then there is another website for help, as well as our class website if you have me for a teacher. No, it didn't make it a link. Okay, that's fine. And then after the video, we'll come back to that. So right now we are up here. I'm going to make this more full screen. My face will still be in the corner there. So we are on page 1. So on the first page, make sure you have table of contents and labeling this notes lesson, which is ratio representations. And it's page 1 for me. Yours may be different depending on the year. If you have notes before this or scratch paper before this, make sure you've labeled it whatever number you need to. Even if you're in the middle of a notebook, if you've labeled it a number, you can always go back and find that number, which is quicker to find and identify than a huge long phrase. So I'm going to flip the page over, and I have ratio representations. I have page 1 next to it. If you want to put the date, you're welcome to put the date. And then I have our learning target. I can represent ratios as fractions, colons, and words. So we're going to get started. I'm using a highlighter because I don't really have any markers, and I love it because it's an awesome highlighter. So we're going to first define the word ratio. So ratio is a comparison of two things. Notice I'm writing the number 2 instead of the word 2. This helps save some time and space in our notebooks. And then I'm also letting you see it so you can pause the video now before I move on. That way you have all the time in the world to write this down. So we're going to write ratios in 3 ways today. We're going to write it with a colon. So those 2 dots in the middle, that's called a colon, and we say this as 3, 2, 2. So we say this colon as the word T-O. You can also write them as fractions. So this is the ratio again, 3, 2, 2. Or we can write this as words of what I'm actually saying, which is 3, 2, 2. Okay? So we're going to practice in colons, fractions, and words today. That's our learning target. Again, you are welcome to pause, and I'm going to write example again. And this is with a picture. So along with this video, I'm going to switch back here to Google. So I went to Google and I just typed in ratio pictures. You can see that up here in my search bar. And then I clicked on images, and you can see the colon and you can see the fraction. I'm going to click on this picture. So this first one, I want the ratio of green squares to red circles. So I want to bring this up, and I want to make you smaller and off to the side. There we go. So I'm going to have, I'll just draw this. So if I have 2 squares and a circle, the ratio of squares to circles Oh, come on, disappear. There we go. Okay, so the ratio of squares to circles will be 2 squares to 1 circle. If I went to letter D down there at the bottom, I'm not going to move my mouse because it's going to make it funky, but like right there. So for letter D, I have a circle, I have a square, I have a circle, and I have 3 squares. In this case, squares to circles will be 4 to 2. All right, I want you to pause the video. I want you to try to write these ratios as fractions and as words. Did you pause the video? All right, so this will be 2 to 1, 4 to 2, and then in words, 2 to 1, and 4 to 2. So you just did ratios 3 different ways. And we're going to keep on trucking. All right, so actually, I'm going to move this over. There we go. We're going to look at B. Yeah, we'll look at B. Okay, so I want you to turn sideways, and I'm going to write the word types. Because we're going to make a table of types. So in this table, and hopefully my mouse will make that thing disappear, we're going to have part to part. We're going to have total to part, and we're going to have part to total. Now, if you do run out of room, that's totally fine. Just make sure they're vertical or you have them. Our goal is that we have 1 page of notes because I have it on 1 page of notes. So we should be able to get it in 1 page. Okay, so we're going to look B, changing to B. Okay, on B, I want squares to circles. So I have actually 3 squares. I have 3 squares to 4 circles. Okay, I could switch it. What if I did circles to squares? How would my ratio change? It would change to be 4 to 3. So order matters. And the order that it says it, and there's my bedtime reminder, so hopefully I go to bed soon. We'll see. And there it goes. Okay, that was on my phone. All right, and then total to part. So how many shapes in total on part B do we have? 3, 6, we have 7 shapes total. So I want total to squares, and I want you to also fill out total to circles. So pause the video. I want you to fill out the total to squares using that colon. So our total was 7. So 7 to the number of squares, which is 3. And then total to circles will be 7 to 4. And we're going to do the same thing, but part to total. So instead of total first and the part second, we're going to have the part first and total second. So I want you to pause the video and write down what should these ratios look like with colons, that is the number of squares to the total and number of circles to the total. So it's going to be the reverse of this. It's going to be 3 to 7 and 4 to 7. Again, this is part B, and I will try to edit out the previous stuff. If not, well then now you know. Part B. If you want, go back and try this for part C. Go back and try this for part A or D. So you have all 4 of those examples up there, or find more just by Googling your own. All right, so after types, we're going to do another definition. Equivalent ratios. Yeah, plural. We're going to do plural. Equivalent ratios. So equivalent ratios are ratios that express the same relationship in different ways. I'll let you pause there to write down your definition. And we're going to push this up. All right, out of the shade. So we have 2 examples. So example 1, we're going to have 2 to 3. This is equivalent to 8 to 12. How do you know this is equivalent? Well, if I have 2, what can I multiply 2 by to make 8? 4. What's 3 times 4? 12. So if you can multiply by the same scale factor, you're going to be able to get the same equivalent ratio. If I divided 8 by 4, and if I divided 12 by 4, so I divided by the same number and I end up with the same ratio. It's an equivalent ratio. Simplified fractions are equivalent ratios. So what's another equivalent ratio to 2 to 3 and 8 to 12? Well, we could multiply by 2 instead, and that would have been 4 to 6. We could multiply by 100, and that would be 200 to 300. As long as you're multiplying by the same number for both values, the 2 and the 3, you're going to have an equivalent ratio, or divided by the same numbers. Okay, and then example 2. What if I had in words 50 to 100? What would be equivalent to 50 to 100? And maybe this will make more sense in your brain if you think of it as a fraction. If you have 50 to 100 as a fraction, what would also be an equivalent ratio to 50 to 100? The simplest one would be 1/2 or 1 to 2. But there's a bunch more out there. So can you pause the video? Can you find one more? And then make sure you share it with either me during class or with a partner or someone else in your family just to make sure that, yes, you understand this. All right, and last thing, we're going to go sideways. And these are actually questions where we're finding ratios. All right, so this is going to be a word problem, but I'll keep it short and sweet. So, a teacher, we're going to call him or her teacher, has 60 sixth graders and 80 7th graders. Okay, so that's our one sentence question. Now we're going to find the ratio of 6th graders to 7th graders, and we're going to simplify it. And our second exercise is going to be find the ratio of 7th graders to the total, and we're going to simplify. Now I'm going to do this in a different color just so it's more differentiated on the page, and maybe this marker will work. I haven't used it in years, so we'll see. So finding the ratio, I want you to pause, figure it out, and then we'll go over it. All right, so 6th to 7th graders, that is the order they want it in. So I have 60 6th graders to 80 7th graders. You can write it with a colon, or you can write it as a fraction, or you can write it in words. It didn't tell you, it just said to simplify at the end. So 60 to 80, this can be simplified. They can both be divided by 10. So that'll get me 6 to 8. After that, they can both be divided by 2 because they are even. I'm going to draw some arrows so we can see the process. 6 divided by 2 is? 8 divided by 2 is? Awesome. So that is our ratio, 3 to 4. For the last one, we're doing the ratio of 7th graders, so 80 to the total. So I'm adding them together. Total means addition, so 60 plus 80 is? 14 is 6 plus 8, and I stick on the extra 0, so it's 140. Again, I'm going to simplify and divide by 10. They both end in those zeros. That means 10 goes into both of them as a factor or a divisor. So I'm going to have 8 to 14. Again, they're both even because it's an 8 and ends in a 4. So divide by 2, so I'm going to get 4 to 7. And that is that. So we are good to go. And then my last thing is after the video, I want you to reflect. Did you take time to focus and go somewhere without many distractions to watch this video and take your notes? Did you take time to highlight, write, try to absorb any information you heard? Did you write down extra questions? Did you change colors so you can see something better? Did you pause the video? How many times did you actually pause it when I told you to? Did you rewind or rewatch the video? And how did that affect your understanding of representing ratios as fractions, colons, and words? All right, I'm past my 15-minute mark, so have a great day. Bye.